We will start the show talking about what's happening up in Bristol, Connecticut right now, because our business, maybe thanks to your streamers that you're talking about, continues to just crumble before our feet. Gentlemen, we made the wrong call getting into this business years ago, and we're hanging on so far. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's a nice segue. How does it feel being on the Titanic? Are you playing cello?
Is there?
I'm the violin. I don't know about you guys. The grand piano couldn't fit on the ship. I'm sorry.
There absolutely was room on the raft or whatever it was. Was it what was it? A door?
It was a door.
I thought it was the headboard of a mattress, the bed frame.
I guess
was
it
it?
could have been. Let's see. I will search real quick.
I'm
That's a
not up
reference
on
I
my
do get.
Titanic trivia.
Where's Zeke when you need him? Zeke, come on.
It's
Hard segue, but the real rationale is there were a bunch of ESPN layoffs that made the news today. That's the primary
another
thing.
round of them.
Yes.
I mean, this is just I've stopped keeping track of how many rounds of layoffs. And listen, it's sports media in 2026. It is a imperfect science. It is a evolving ecosystem because so many people are on these things, and it's how do I get people to watch something on this? Because they're not going to stop and watch reruns of SportsCenter.
A piece of banister.
Yeah.
Good call.
Banister. Okay. Not a headboard. Okay. Well,
Similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was space. She could have let him. She could have let him float up there with her.
I agree.
Well, yeah, but it's all about revenue sharing. Go ahead.
For the shareholders.
Exactly.
It's
What is going on today?
we're feeling sad because ESPN used to be something great, and now it's not.
Once upon a
yeah.
time.
It was an institution.
And I'm not saying parts of it still are.
Sure.
Parts of it have actually gotten better. But for the vast majority of our adult lives, ESPN has been a slow, de-evolution into what it's become, which is just
The embrace debate shift.
The
having
part of
people come on to talk about sports that don't watch games, or just trying to say something to bait you into engagement on a social media clip. And there used to be analysis and thought and X's and O's and make you smarter. There was a push to make the viewer more educated about sport, what they were watching, and there still is. I'm not saying it's all gone. But about 20 years ago, they
there's
figured
still
out.
plenty of really talented people that work
Yeah,
there that
and
do
about-
good stuff. It's just
But about 20 years ago, they figured out if we just do a bunch of talk and get people to tune in and get them fired up and emotional and angry, whether the people saying those things actually believe them or not, doesn't even matter. Because they felt like as long as we could get people to feel emotionally involved, that we will keep their attention.
And you know what's unfortunate is I think the genesis of that was a good thing, but they went headlong down this path into bad things. I think the genesis of it,
It had to be more than highlights. It had to be more than just that.
Yes, but I think their eureka moment was PTI. And PTI was good television because it was two really good, thoughtful, intelligent journalists having cogent sports debate with Michael Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser.
Yes.
They still do.
went,
Guys
this really works.
guys who-
Let's do more of this. And they brought in people that wanted to go headlong down the crazy path, and that's where we went completely sideways. Skip Bayless, sorry, that was the head of the snake of all of this. If you could do more PTI level debate, fine, let's go. They wanted to recreate that, and they recreated it with
manufactured debate. That's
Yes,
the thing. It's
yes.
not. It is not coming from cogent analysis. It's
I'll
coming
tell you
from
where-
we need it. There are 100 panelists, and we need 99 of them believe one thing, but we need the one to show that there's actually a side to this debate, which is ridiculous.
They started to jump ship with Sports Nation. You remember
Little.
that show with
Yeah.
Beadle and Coward? It was good to start, and it quickly devolved, and it became what we're talking about now, where it's let's just say things to get people riled up. They had a little fake studio audience in their studio. They'd like
I remember that.
10 rows of chairs, like five, and they would bring in like PAs and interns to go sit in there and cheer and be like a manufactured studio audience. And like I get the concept, But it took that whole idea of let's just say things and hope they stick because people will tune in. And to your point about PTI, that was probably the apex of ESPN. When we had really strong Sports Center, we had live games, we had good debate shows. Around the Horn I'd throw in there too.
Yeah, that was a great hour of television.
But
PTI and Around the Horn back to back.
And listen, part of this is being a nostalgic millennial and being like, I would love to harken back to being like 13 years old again, and
in the same way that our parents were talking about Dragnet.
Why we got into this in the first place?
Yeah, what I would give to go back to being like 12 years old to watch 2 hours of NFL Live, Around the Horn, PTI, and then Sports Center. Bang, bang, bang. Like that was middle school, high school, and it was good. It was good quality. They had reporters. Sports Center had reporters go travel and cover stories, not just people using their camera phone to do a report, and just people that probably shouldn't be doing reports for TV because it's maybe not something that their strong suit is. And so they scaled back. They weren't investing in things like sports journalism. They were investing in sports talk. Mm-hmm. And they've gone full-fledged into that now. Because if you look at their payroll, outside of maybe Scott Van Pelt, and his is technically a sports talk show / news show, their highest on-air personalities are all yappers. And yes, I understand the full irony of this conversation and how we are having this dialogue.
On a streaming platform.
What we're talking
Yappers talking about yappers. It's not lost on me.
But this is part of the issue with it, right? Like you brought up Around the Horn. Built out of reporters all across the country to give their own various perspectives on whatever topic du jour is going on that day.
Outside the Lines was an amazing program,
right, but
they nuked it.
But I bring up
Bob Lee was.
But I bring
as
up
good as
Around the Horn because that was their side. That was our chance to connect to the byline, to get these people and give them a larger platform to showcase these reporters. Exist everywhere. They have influence, not necessarily influence, but a tap into a line that you might not know. And it's ancillary to what they're actually doing, which is the reporting part of it. And now they've switched it, where it's like, if you are a reporter, your goal is not necessarily to stay on that path and rise up and cover higher teams. It's to find a TV gig and be able to expound upon, and granted, there are benefits to it, like on this platform, for instance. There are stories we've discussed on this, for instance, which probably wouldn't make it out onto a normal sportscast that we would have traditionally done. We have time and energy and resources to be able to devote to things that we care about and are passionate about, and that's a benefit. But the reality is you are now a voice in a storm. It is no longer PTI and Around the Horn and Outside the Lines are the preeminent voices. It is you are competing against your own broadcasting against guys that are just throwing stuff into the woodshed.
Well, what they do is they used to have what's called a car wash. They would have guests come in and they would go on every single show, and big time celebrities would come on all the time. That doesn't really happen as much anymore. One, and then two, what it's become now is somebody will say something really, I don't know. I'm not going to say compelling because it's usually not, but it is like rage bait. They'll say something on one of the AM shows that is getting some traction. And then they're going to take that clip and they're going to run it in their next show.
Can you believe
and those
he said
guys
this?
will react to that?
Yeah.
And they're going to react. And then all of a sudden you've created content to react to as opposed to something that actually happened as opposed to manufactured. And I think that's kind of where there's a bit of an issue now is it's just a lot of manufactured crap as opposed to sports news, journalism, reports, things that is actually bettering the viewer in some capacity, not just making them emotionally feel something. And when I say emotionally feel something, I'm saying like anger or I agree. I mean, there are different levels of emotion you can have watching sports programming. It doesn't have to be just I agree or I disagree. There's nuance to it. You can learn about stories that are going on in the United States and globally about sports. We have lost so much of that with what ESPN has done layoff-wise. And it's not just layoffs. It's their content plan. It's what they are doing kind of as an entire media conglomerate is we are not going to kind of invest in those avenues. We are going to just pay a bunch of millions of dollars to Pat McAfee and Stephen A. because we know the younger people are going to watch them online and watch their clips on digital and probably watch their show, and that's it. And if there is somebody that's successful in that space, they'll hire them over like they did with McAfee and then pay them a bunch of money so they can get that viewership.
It's kind of it is a monopoly in its own way. Like they are no longer trying to compete and better their own product. They're just trying to absorb what is popular at the moment.
I honestly wonder, because like I'm looking back, I don't know if you guys have watched any of it. I've watched a bunch of the Rich Eisen This Was SportsCenter series that he's been doing as he's made his way back into the ESPN mothership, if you will, as NFL Network has been absorbed in all of this.
Not to segue real quick, but part of the reason why these layoffs are happening is because ESPN absorbed the NFL Network crew.
Right.
And that's been part of the discussion here is like there's no longer that much separation between ESPN from a reporting standpoint and looking at the NFL. They both intermeshed at this point. Anyway, continue.
So I've been watching a lot of This Was SportsCenter, and it's compelling and it's interesting and it's fun for those of us that are our age, that this is what we grew up with. But it has led me to wonder, especially in the light of today's layoffs, if ESPN just went whole hog on this thing and said, you know what, Eisen being back and doing this show and bringing back some former SportsCenter anchors and whatever, this reminiscing has led us to think, let's just go back to doing that. Forget all this embrace debate nonsense that we've done for the last 25 years. Let's go back to 1997 and just do a highlight-based SportsCenter show, 60 minutes every day, run that thing on a loop, and try and like put the genie back in the bottle. Would it work? I feel like a lot of us might be inclined to at least tune in just to see like, just for the nostalgia of it all. But you mentioned, the young kids that want to watch
they don't have
the clips. I don't know if it works for that generation or not.
Kids don't have the attention span for it these days. Adults don't have the attention span for it these days. I think about myself included. I mean, are you going to sit and watch an hour-long show? You're probably going to be on your phone for most of it. It's just the sad reality of it right now. We're not putting down our phones and watching many things. They're making movies now catered towards people that are on their phones for most of it. And it's
what?
Yeah.
You don't know about this?
I haven't seen this.
It's annoying.
Yeah.
But yes.
They literally are making movies that are directed in a way where they have to have like a line about what's going on in the movie, because if you were not paying attention and you were on your phone, you look up and you're like, oh, so that's what's going on.
There's that, but there's also
they've descinematized some
Right.
movies because of this.
That's the big thing, and part of it is that the AI revolution recently and how much that's changing visual creation to some degree. But a lot of modern, I suppose you could say, cinematographers that I shouldn't even say cinematographers, because those that are in the industry are probably still pushing back on this. But there is a decent chunk of people that are framing vertically, where it's like everything is center. And that used to be a choice. Like if you've seen a Wes Anderson film, he puts everything in basically the same 4x3 square and everything else is kind of framed like a painting, but you never really have to move your eye. It's all built there straight for you. The difference is now it's happening so it can just happen on your phone.
Correct.
And there's a different purpose behind it. Again, now we're getting all over.
But it all does tie in, right?
Yes.
Because you think about ESPN is no longer competing with NFL Network. ESPN and we're all competing against each other for attention and viewership wherever that comes. It is not a rating, a cable rating, a Nielsen rating, or anything like that. It is can I have your attention on this clip as opposed to you watching that other clip? That's all it is.
Because that's what ESPN has turned into one of maybe its most lucrative arms of its business is its YouTube channel. And all of the clips that they put there, and that's where a lot of people consume their content at this point, including what I was talking about earlier with the Eisen podcast. Like that all fits under that umbrella. That's where people watch.
It was a perfect storm to how we got here, right? Like the way they kind of changed their content during also the massive tech boom of iPads and iPhones and Reels and all this stuff. It all kind of came to a head there. 25 years ago we didn't have that. We had the attention span to watch a SportsCenter. Shoot, man, I remember going to bed in 2004 watching reruns on ESPN News of SportsCenter. Michael Kim was the anchor. He was one of the ESPN News anchors. And I'd fall asleep and wake up and then they're still running some rerun. I interned at ESPN a handful of years later, and I walked up to Kimmer and I told him, I used to fall asleep to you.
How'd that go?
He was like, please don't ever use that line again. He's a Mizzou guy. I'm a Mizzou guy. We're all good. But yeah,
Where's Michael Kim
big
now?
thing.
I'm not quite sure. He was in Chicago for a bit, but it was that was such a different era of consumption, of TV media consumption, where you could watch reruns of SportsCenter and you didn't have something competing for that attention. You didn't have TikTok and Instagram Reels and all of this stuff kind of like, come over here, come check this notification I just threw onto your phone.
And part of the disconnect is the teams themselves have their own direct link to the consumer now. They don't have to go through television or to have the specific TV rights to ensure that their product gets broadcast. We're seeing with the Rangers where they're basically hopscotching from streaming service to streaming service. And it's, you know, if you want to see the Rangers game, let's not even say like you don't have time to see the Rangers game. Just go to their Twitter account. You're going to see every major play that you're going to want to see because they're going to put it in an avenue where you can find it. And before, where ESPN was concerned, the Sports Center was big because if you missed anything, there wasn't an avenue for your local team to get on except for those specific 30 seconds maybe that they might squeeze out in the A block of a Sports Center or maybe the B block if you're lucky. You know what I mean? The distillation of especially smaller market teams now having a better avenue to find fans or get their content out where they don't have to ascribe to, you know, we have to play the Cowboys to get any kind of coverage around here. That's changed the media landscape in a way that I think television in general is trying to wrestle back. But ESPN has been trying to maintain its relevance in that space.
I've had high school kids reach out to me about, you know, advice and stuff all over the years. And now it's like, you don't need to go anywhere. You got a camera and a microphone. And if you have a niche, go create it.
Yeah.
Because it's all right there for you. I mean, YouTube can be your employer. It doesn't. You don't need to go slave for $30,000 in market 119.
No, but you do still need a financial foundation. Like trying to go down a YouTube rabbit hole, like it is a significant hurdle to make any kind of actual revenue from it.
Agreed.
Well, yes, but that's why what he's
But
saying.
you can still
start when you're a high school kid,
right?
But the barriers to entry now are zero.
Correct.
I mean, it's the cost of a camera and a mic.
Correct. Yeah.
Whereas,
You're
or even
competing.
just a phone.
Right.
Whereas when we were younger, the barrier was I got to get into this job, I got to get into a market, got to get somewhere like employment somewhere.
Right.
So it's not quite there.
I suppose what I mean is like the barrier to entry is lower, but the barrier for success is higher because now you're competing against
everybody. 100%. Agreed. All that's right. I mean, listen, if PLG wants to start an Aston Villa podcast, all he needs is a phone.
He's been doing that, I think.
I've been doing that on WFA's social pages.
Exactly.
That's my platform.
Just talking about Aston Villa.
Just talking about soccer.
I mean, he turned
Y'all can kiss my Aston, right? My Aston Villa. I should put that on a T-shirt. Not quite y'all can kiss my Dallas, but it's close.
I'd have preferred that one.
Which one? The Aston
Dallas.
Villa? Y'all can kiss my Dallas?
Yeah, that one's better.
Paul, I got it. That's a great T-shirt idea. You should run with that.
Do what?
Send that to the people at Aston Villa and say,
Yeah.
I want 8% of this.
Yeah, y'all can kiss my Aston.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
All right.
Oh, it's time for a break. When we come back, we're talking a little bit of soccer for maybe the final time
Yeah, I was
ever
gonna
on
say.
this show.
Yeah, that's right.
We
Might be
will
our
talk
final
about,
show.
We'll talk about Lamine Yamal rocking the city of Dallas after this.
Play Celine Dion.